बच्चों, कैसे हो? आपका स्वागत है त्रिपान स्टडी सेंटर में। आज जो हम करने जा रहे हैं क्लास 10th एनआईएस बोर्ड का जो है सोशल साइंस यानी सामाजिक विज्ञान का जो है चैप्टर नंबर 21, जो ये काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण है। इसमें आज हम करेंगे पॉलिटिकल पार्टी एंड प्रेशर ग्रुप यानी राजनीतिक दल तथा दबाव समूह। ये टॉपिक देखा जाए तो कई मायनों में हर एक क्लास के बच्चों के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, चाहे वो सीबीएसई के बच्चे हों, चाहे एनआईएस के बच्चे हों, चाहे यूपी बिहार बोर्ड के बच्चे हों, सभी बच्चों के लिए ये काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण रहने वाला है। इवन कि जो बच्चे कंपटीशन की तैयारी कर रहे हैं उनके लिए भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज एंड प्रेशर ग्रुप काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण रहने वाला है। ठीक है, और इसमें जो है हर एक बात पे जो है हम प्रकाश डालेंगे और जानने की कोशिश करेंगे। लेकिन ये सब तब होगा जब हम चैप्टर स्टार्ट करेंगे। लेकिन चैप्टर स्टार्ट करने से पहले एक बात जो मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ, जिसको आपको सोचना भी चाहिए, विचार भी करना चाहिए, इवन अमल भी करना चाहिए, वो ये है कि जब भी वीडियो देखिए पूरा देखिए, क्योंकि अधूरा जानकारी सदैव खतरनाक होता है। साथ में एक इम्पोर्टेंट बात ये भी रहता है, अगर आप पहली बार वीडियो देख रहे हो तो लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलना, क्योंकि दोस्तों लाइक कीजिएगा तो बनाने वाले का मनोबल बढ़ता है, सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा तो इससे ये होता है कि जब भी मैं कोई वीडियो डालूंगा उसका नोटिफिकेशन आपको समय रहते मिल जाएगा। और देखिए शेयर का मतलब ये होता है कि आपके थ्रू ना जाने किन बच्चों को हेल्प मिल जाए, ये आप भी नहीं जानोगे, इसलिए जो है आप शेयर जरूर करो। ठीक है, व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस पे भी लगाओ। दोस्तों एनआईएस सेंटर जो है कई मानने में बहुत से बच्चों के लिए हेल्पफुल है, चाहे वो 8th क्लास हो, 9th 10th 11th 12th हो, चाहे वो एनआईएस बोर्ड के बच्चे हों, ठीक है, चाहे बीए एमए के बच्चे हो, सभी क्लासों के लिए कुछ ना कुछ जो है त्रिपान सेंटर में उपलब्ध है। तो इसलिए आपके लिए ज़रूरी है कि आप सब्सक्राइब करके इसको चैनल को जो है सेव कर लो, नहीं तो बाद में अगर रिसर्च करोगे तो शायद आपको ये चैनल प्राप्त ना हो। तो इसलिए सोचना नहीं, विचार नहीं करना है, सब्सक्राइब करके जो है अपने पास सेव करना है। दोस्तों ये तो बात था आपके लिए, लेकिन आप देखते हैं हमारा आज टॉपिक क्या है। Our next topic is the most important here: politics, parties, and pressure and interest group. There's an important here: political parties and pressure interest groups. You might have been to the demonstrations or dharans and such a like activity in your locality, cities, instead by students, farmers, workers, etc. This is most important here. Some of these activities you might have observed are carried by the organized groups like a students union, farmer union, trade union, and business association also here, and teacher association, etc. In general, these groups try to the press upon the government for a formulation of the policies or enforcement of law according to their interest. Yet there is themselves do not a contested election, and therefore you will be agree that they are not a political parties. Then what are these? In any country, especially a democratic one, there are a large number of organized groups which are directly or indirectly influence of politics and government. The members of such organized group are united in a respect of some specific interests that they tend to be advanced. For example, the workers of factory are organizing in what is called the trade union promote their interest. And similarly, there are other organized groups here, and these are called pressure group or interest group. There is called the other organized group, there is called the pressure group. That are these groups of pressure or interest groups is most important. What are these pressure group and interest groups here, and how do they differ from each other, and what role do they play in their political system of our country? Let's discuss in this point and questions here. The next here, pressure group and interest group. This is the most important point here, pressure groups and interest group. You can see below the illustrations depicting and rally by the Indian National Congress, Union Congress. This is important. The rally by the Indian National Trade Union Congress, mean INTUC. The INTUC is organizations that can be described both as a pressure group and interest group. There is both pressure group and interest group. Generally, interest groups and pressure groups are considered synonymous, but they are actually not. Interest group are organized group of people which seek to promote their specific interest, and their characteristics are they are well organized, and second here they have a sentence common interest, and the next year the interest that unit their members is specific and particular, and the next year the members of such organized groups seek to be attend, protect, and promote their interests for which they are united. A pressure group, on the other hand, is an interest group which exert pressure on the government or their discussion makers for a fulfillment of their interest. It is important to be make a discussions between on interest group and pressure group. And interest groups may exist without even exerting pressure on the government or the discussion maker. A group that does not be exert pressure to be influence or pressurize the authorities in order to be achieve their desired object is not called a pressure group. An interest group that exert pressure on the government to be achieved its goal is called a pressure group. All the pressure groups are interest group will all the interest group maybe not be a pressure group. You know that there is important all the pressure groups are interest group will all interest groups maybe not be a pressure group, and therefore a difference between two groups are significance here. On your screen there is the most important rally by the Indian National Trade Union Congress. There is the most important on your screen, and this is also important interest group and pressure group. There is a difference here. Formally organized interest group, pressure group strictly is a structure. Interests are oriented, pressure is a focused. May or not be influence the policy of government, must be influence the policy of the government. Softer in outlook, harsher in the attitude, and more or less protective and promotive. There is the most important difference here in interest groups and pressure groups here. And the next here, pressure groups role and technique. This is important point here, pressure groups role and techniques. In the democratic functioning of politics, pressure groups play a vital role. They seek to promote or discuss, debate, and mobilize the public opinion on major public issue. In this process, they educate people and evidence their vision. And hence there are democratic participation and the rises and articulate various issues. And these groups try to bring change in the public policy. To achieve their objective and goals, the pressure group is employs of various techniques and methods here. And this include appeal, petitions and demonstrations and picketings, lobbyings and processions. And they also write in their media, distribute or populated issue of press or release and organize discussion and debates. But of the posters and chant and slogans, and they may carry out of satyagraha, that is a non-violent protest here. At the time, pressure group are resort to the strike in order to be pressurize their regulators and executive official and discussion maker. Often they are short to be by court. Have you not be seen a lawyer sometime by quoting their courts, the teacher, their class, their and pressure groups are short to such activity to influence governmental policies here. The next topic is the most important here, political parties and pressure group. You know that is important, political parties and pressure groups here. You have already did that political parties and pressure groups are not the same. This is an important point. Political parties and pressure group are not the same. However, both of them play an important role in a democracy. and therefore the relationship in the market is close and clear. For example, the trade union helped their respective political parties by providing them to the workers during the election. On the other hand, it's the political parties which advocate regulations to the respect of the interest of the workers. You know that the National Student Union of India means NSUI provide a future leadership to the Congress and will the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthis Parishad means ABVP. Thus, so for the Bharatiya Janata Party, whereas some pressure groups are linked to the particular political parties, and there are many which is have no linkage to any political party. It is important to understand that pressure groups are different from political parties, and this distinction between two can be started as under the first year. Pressure groups are not a primarily political in nature. For example, through the Rashtriya Swayamak Sangh means RSS, Rashtriya Swayamak Sangh, and support the Bharatiya Janata Party. It is by a large a culture organization. RSS is the supporting by the Bharatiya Janata Party, and there is a culture organization. The political parties are basically a political pressure group do not seek a direct power, and they only influence those who are a power from a molding decision in their favor. The political parties seek power to from their government, and pressure group do not be contest election, and they only support a political parties of their choose. And political parties is a nominated candidate contest a election and participate in the election campaigns. This is important. And the next year, pressure groups do not be necessarily have a political ideologies. Political parties are away married to their ideologies. For example, the Congress party is married to be ideologies of socialism, secularism, and democracy. This is the most important ideologies here: socialism, secularism, and democracy. The communists advocate their interest of workers, peasant, and other weaker section. The interests of pressure groups are usually specific and particular, where the political parties have a policy and programs with the national and international ramification. It's important also here. And the next year, pressure group in India. This is important. Pressure group in India. Like in other democratic countries, in India too, there are many interest pressure groups here. And these are of various kinds. There are pressure groups based on traditional social structure. And there are a group like Arya Pratinidhi Sabha, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha, and Santan Dharma Sabha, and Presi Anujuman, and Anglo-Indian Christians Association. These are the most important pressure groups here. And then there are the caste groups such as the Brahman Sabha, the Nair Society, and other language groups such as the Tamil Sangh, Ajuman, Turek Urdu, and you may be find other types of interest group which may be include bodies such as the foundations of Indian chambers and commerce and industries means FICCI are those related to the worker and peasant like All Indian Trade Union Congress and Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh and Kisan Sabha, etc. This is important. Another example for the institutional groups such as the Civil Service Association are the non-graduate officer union, and at the time you may be observed that there are group like there are all Assam students and union asking the establishment of college in a rural area. This is important. And the next year, Civil society organization. Civil society organization. A new form of Marx traces in India. India has a very large number of civil society organization, mean CSOS. That is organization established by the citizen of country to press of content interest. Many of these organizations act as a pressure group on the government and to promote a implementation of policy in their area of concern. And these organizations are run by the ordinary person who feel strongly committed to contain a issue. And many ordinary persons come together informally or formally to be share their feelings about different issues and prevailing social injustice. This is important. Civil society is an interference between to the state and individual. Civil society organization broadly refer to the activity, participation and engagement of man and woman in a group. The association, organization, and voluntary agency on the issue of common concern like environmental protection and price rise, preventions of corruptions, etc. There's the most important topics here. The environment protection, price rising, prevention and corruption, etc. Here. The 21st century witnessed the active involvement of people through the civil society organization and which could be seen in a number of protest movements across the country. People take up issue of gender discrimination. The gender discrimination, there is a very sadness and child labor, state children and so on they contribute to the individual and collective action. And such organizations are able to mobilize public opinion because this issue are relevant to be many people in a society. Some of the civil society, this is important, some of the civil societies organization include Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangatham, means MKSS. This is the formation of Rajasthan, and People's Union for Civil Liberties, means PUCL, and National Alliance of People Movement, means NAPM. National Alliances of Women Organization, means NAWO, and Medico Friends Circle, MFC, and many other such organizations put the pressure on the government for a changing policy on many important issues such as corruption, human rights, livelihood of different people, and environmental protection, and human empowerment, educational and health issue. This is the most important issue on this organization. There is a here. Civil society organization help to reach out to be many people. They provide a channel for people to express their grievances and also work constructively for the change. They point out when their government is not a fulfilling its promised to the nation. They attract adolescents and communities, young people, even acting as a space for a teaching and learnings of good citizenship. Good citizens are vigilant and art. Civil society organizations are formed by such as vigilant citizens, and many of them struggle for their large social good, often sacrificing their own comfort, time, and energy. And some important leaders of civil society organization in the recent time include Aruna Roy, Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, and Ella Bhatt and his self-employed women association. Medha Patkar is a Narmada Bachao Andolan, and Anna Hazare Indian Against Corruption. This is the most important here. All these organizations involve a large number of people who struggle to be bearing about a change in the state policy. Many of the organizations and groups believe in the following non-violent methods. The next topic is the most important here. Pressure tracks is here. This is important. pressure statistics here. As a pressure group are concerned with the influencing their government and their use of various strategies for their same. And these are primarily constitutional and peaceful. In Indian, one of the commonly used pressure strategy is a satyagraha, a non-violent protest here. As you know, it is a Gandhi who is introduced the idea of satyagraha and is now all over to the world for the same. Though they used to this method in their contest of the foregone rule, the method are still relevant. The method have been a successful use. For instance, there are self-employed women's association means SEWA. SEWAS. This has influenced the government to improve its policy on the right of women workers. Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan lead to the peoples is a movement which got to be a government to be bearing about their law and right to the information. In the northern eastern state of Manipur, many groups including a Just PS and the Amanba Lum Student Organization, a Mazera Pevix, they are the women's group, are the trying to the influence their government to be listen to peoples and genius grannies. Together, these groups are associated with the Iroms, Sarmila, and civil rights activities. There is known as the Iron Lady of Manipur, who has been on hunger strike since. On your screen, there is the most important here. Mera Pavis Human Activities is a protest there in Manipur. There is the most important here. And the next year, women of Kerala sending the postcard to PM and President of India in a sport of demand made by the Marius Pebbles and Iron Sarmila for peace in a Manipur. This is the most important activities here. And on your screen, there is a most important advertisement here on the Manipuris poets peacefully protest in a shaking their conscience of the world. This is the most important advertisement on your screen. And Aram Sarmilas is one to the government should be repeal or Army Force Special Power Act means AFSPA, which is responsible for the violence in her state and other part of northern East India, and respect the people's democratic right to be live. And people from all over the country are responding to her sacrifice, and she has not eaten food from 11 years and alive only because she is being force feed through their tube attached to her nose. This is the most important here. And pressure groups also use the strategy of holding demonstration, sitting on dharnas and going to the tracks. They are organizing public meeting and presenting the memorandums and to be legislative communities and promoting their cases through use of media and creation of public opinion. This is important.